It's Chris Grenier here with America Homes, and I just received a fantastic set of questions that pretty much everybody is going to be curious about. So I'm just going to jump right into it, do a quick little Q&A on Wednesday, September 17th here. So first question that I received in this email was, I do believe that the titles would be in my name, in parentheses, the buyer. 100% correct. Fortunately, properties here in Florida, specifically the residential properties that we sell and that we offer, would be considered 100% freehold title, meaning you own the property forever and always, in any manner you want. By that I mean whether you want to put it in your personal name, whether you want to form an LLC, put the property inside of there, which we could go into further discussion with in the future, or if you want to set up your inheritance or your trust or however you want in terms of passing it on to children, other family members, business partners, whether you sell the property, it's 100% yours in your name. So, do you have a list of ongoing properties for sale, or are they sold pretty much as you send them out? The answer is yes. So, we do have a list of specific properties that we offer. We don't just offer any property that we get our hands on. We don't just search what's called the MLS, kind of the Google, if you will, for real estate property. We are very, very particular on the type of properties that we release. That's why you only see us sending out 1, 2, maybe at most 3 properties a week. For that reason, we are very specific in terms of our criteria for investment purposes, location, value for the actual property itself. Because if the property's market value and you're going to pay the exact same thing, whether it's a foreclosure or a resale or a brand new build, then there's absolutely no value there, and there's nothing to really be said for the property. So one of the things that we do is we kind of go through a checklist. We say, okay, what's the previous value? Is it $300,000 and now it's only $120,000? Obviously a really good deal. But then we look at what properties have sold for around it. Like the property that you actually replied to, if you look at the properties sold around it, they are all sold substantially higher than what we're able to offer the property for, even though they're all pretty much the same thing in terms of bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, year built, and other features of the property itself. So we do sell the properties pretty quickly as we send them out. Reason being, there's a ramped up demand for the properties and certainly a lack of supply, because the inventory in Central Florida for good foreclosure properties has dropped about 65-70% over the past 3 years. So simple economics, a lot less supply, a lot more demand, prices are going to keep rising. Like I said, we're very, very particular on the properties we sell out. And so when we do send one out that says, okay, the true market value, if you look at every single piece of statistic that you can find says that this property is worth $120,000 and you can buy it now for $90,000, then it's a no-brainer, and that's why investors snatch them right up. So, do you have some properties for sale in an area that is located in gated communities? No, in a nutshell, because gated communities are just an added expense, but I will agree with you that gated communities do carry a sort of prestige to them, but they are not necessary. Gated communities are only really gated for marketability. People think gated communities, like all of a sudden it's secure like the White House and nobody's going to get in. And unless it's one of those communities that there's about 6 of them in Central Florida that you're talking about $2 million plus houses everywhere, a gated community is not going to act the way you think it's going to. Because if a car is, let's just say for the sake of argument, if somebody's pulling into a gated community and there's a car behind it that is trying to get into that community that doesn't necessarily want to be there or shouldn't be there or is there for the wrong purpose, all they have to do is go behind the car. The gate opens, one car pulls in, the next car follows. So it really doesn't deter anybody. Driving by, it looks nice, but that's about it. But another key factor is when it is a gated community, your homeowner association, your community fees are substantially higher because you then have to actually be responsible for the upkeep of the road itself. So the HOA, the homeowner association, is responsible for privately purchasing that road. Since it is gated, you are secluded from being a public road and you're now a private road, and your taxes and your HOA just skyrocketed, really killing any return that you might have. So your next question, how do I know if some repairs will be due shortly which of course would affect the ROI, such as roof, heat pump, plumbing, water heater, etc. So, two answers right here, really quick. One, all of our properties come fully renovated top to bottom. Now, that means the property has undergone a full cosmetic rehab, meaning paint, carpet, kitchen cabinets refinished, countertops, exterior painting, landscaping, resealing of the garage floor, the driveway, but also internal renovations are done as well too. So we inspect the property from top to bottom for plumbing, electrical, water heater, air conditioner. Usually the water heater and the air conditioner are new. If not, they do have a full service certificate of functionality to them. But I'm sorry. In the same token, there is no crystal ball. So you do have to be realistic. The property could work 100% perfectly one day, but you never know what could happen tomorrow. Fortunately, we have a track record of over 315 properties sold, and 95% of the time, there are very, very few, if any, costs due within the first 2, even 3 years, just because the quality of repair work that's gone underway. But again, I'm going to reiterate, you have to be realistic. So it's always good to put a 10% reserve fund of your income aside for repairs. If you do spend it in a year, it is what it is. But if you don't, then that's great too, because then you get the money back at the end of the year. That's kind of a little bonus. Next question. Are the properties coming with a tenant kind of guaranteed, or do we run the risk of being a few months without a tenant? All our properties have tenants lined up. Some of them already have properties living in the home when it is sold. Some of them have tenants moving into the property within 30 days of you completing on it. So let's just say you complete on your first property on October 1st. By November 1st, there will be tenants moving in. So we don't sell properties that are not, anywhere near close to being tenanted. They all have a marketing plan already behind them. The property management company is already managing them and either sourcing a tenant or already taking care of the tenants in place. The next question. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to touch upon that real quick as well. There are no guarantees in rental income in America. The only guarantee that you will get is if it comes from a developer and it is what's called a leaseback. So let's say you buy a brand new townhome or single family home in a new development. And the developer will say, we're going to use this as our sales office for the next year. So we are going to guarantee you 5% return or $2,000 a month, for example, over the next 12 months. Unless it is a new build community, you cannot do a rental guarantee. It's illegal. It's a Ponzi scheme at the end of the day. It's a resale. So let's just say, for the sake of example, you buy a property for $100,000 and somebody says, I guarantee you a 10% return for the first year. That simply means they're charging you an extra $12,000 a year, or $12,000 of the purchase price, and simply paying you back your own money. We guarantee cash flow from day one, because that means there are tenants in place already. So there's a difference between guaranteeing income and guaranteeing tenants in place and cash flow from day one. So your next question is, are the properties coming, would I have the possibility to go and tour the unit before purchasing? And then once a year to see if my investment is well taken care of? You absolutely have the right to do so. Personally, I think it's a waste of money. I am more than happy to go to any single property that you are fully considering and you want to put a reservation on. Do 50 photos for you, a complete photo album, do a video walkthrough of the property, do a video tour of the neighborhood itself, and then you can use Google Street View to see it further. So I'm just going to be transparent with you here real quick, as I'm sure you would want me to be, and I would like you to be with me as well too. If a full photo album and a video tour and a neighborhood tour in Google Street View are not enough for you to say, okay, I like the property, the neighborhood is good, the investment figures work out really well, this is what I'm looking for, I'm impressed by the return, I'm impressed by the actual value, and you still want to see it firsthand in person to touch it and feel it, that simply means you're using more of an emotional purchase than intellectual when it comes down to the investment figures. Now, I am 100% for you coming. I always love it when people come and visit, whether they want to see the properties they've already bought, whether they want to do a general overview of the area. But at the end of the day, your opinion of the area and the neighborhood of the property or the property itself isn't going to affect the investment return. And we're talking about investment properties here. So it's much like saying I'm going to buy stock in Apple. That doesn't mean I'm going to fly out to California and Silicon Valley and check out Apple's headquarters and see how their operation's going. It comes down to the investment return. So I don't want I don't want to deter you in any way from visiting, but coming once a year to see how your investment's doing, I mean, you're more than welcome to. If you want to do a trip to Orlando, see Disney, see all the attractions, then that's great. But again, it's a little bit above and beyond what's necessary. The price for insurance, is it for U.S., Florida residents, or is it the same for foreign investors with a tenant? It's the same for foreign investors with a tenant. That's a nice, easy, short one. Our typical insurance policy will be about $500 to $750 a year, depending on the size of the house and the price of the home. I would prefer a 2000 plus built property unless it is in very good condition. Do you have those regularly? We don't have 2000 plus built properties too regularly because those are rare. It kind of goes back to the gated community situation, meaning they're great on paper, mentally they sound better, but at the end of the day, if it's fully renovated, you can put a house built in 2005 next to a house built in 1985. If the one built in 1985 is fully renovated top to bottom and it's a better value for your money, if it's built in 1985 or 2005, it's really not going to make a difference at the end of the day. Long-term capital appreciation, perhaps, but don't forget, the houses that are closest to the city, just like any other city in the entire country, they're built out. So if you were talking about properties in the heart of Metro Orlando, you're not going to find too many that are very young. You're going to find them a little bit older because the cities build outwards. They don't build inwards, if you know what I mean. Finally, I noticed some of the properties you offer 12% plus ROI. Of course, these would be appealing to me. I agree 1,000,000%. They would be appealing to anybody. But again, they're few and far between. It goes back to when properties are released, they're sold rather quickly. So when you see a 12% ROI property come out, like the one that you replied about, it's not going to last long. There are hundreds of other investors on our member base that are waiting for properties like that. It's really a no-brainer. If you're talking about investment here, if I tell you a property is a market value of $120,000 with every single piece of statistical data you can find, and it's available for $90,000, and it carries 11 to 11.5% net ROI a year, no investor in their right mind would think twice about that deal just because the figures are phenomenal for investment purposes. So I try to keep it as short as possible. There are quite a few good questions, and a little bit more detail is always better than leaving something out. So I hope that answers all of these. If you have any more, please shoot them my way. And anything else, please contact me whenever you would like. Talk to you soon.